Okay, and I think we're live. And today I just wanted to talk very briefly about the showdown between the incoming Democratic Congress and President Trump. And you saw the footage from yesterday. It's kind of very entertaining meeting between Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. And beyond the media, the typical media butchering of the story, trying to portray Donald Trump as throwing a temper tantrum, I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised by the result, because they went into this meeting, and it just goes to show you the staggering hubris and monumental. Even before they took control of Congress, Democrats and the left think that they are entitled to power, that they have a perpetual stranglehold on exercising political power, even though they've been out of power for most of the past half century. They've been able to wield power through the courts and through the administrative state and what some people call the deep state, these federal bureaucracies that are staffed with people who are inimical to the Constitution and do everything they can to thwart the, not even so much the public's will as just thwart the expressed wishes of the voters and the people who represent America. So the Democrats see themselves as representing the interests of non-Americans and people who are going to be grandfathered into America in order to help them seize power. And Trump just demonstrated that he's still the president. They can't run roughshod over him. And I think it was astonishing. They still haven't grappled with the fact that they lost, that their platinum coded candidate Hillary Clinton was destroyed in 2016. They still haven't accepted that fact. They don't accept election results. It was just demonstrated when they essentially stole about a dozen seats in California and in other states. They lost an election day, but they somehow won 12 seats through ballot harvesting. So I was impressed by the way that Trump dealt with this, but I think this is a critical moment, and this is kind of a do or die moment for the Trump presidency, and it'll determine whether or not he's eventually reelected, because he was elected to exercise some control and some restraint on our immigration system, because that is the key issue. It's not just one issue, it's a constellation of issues that make up the most important domestic policy in our country. And it's not just domestic policy, because the immigration also influences our foreign policy as well. So if you don't have control of your borders, and if you can't exercise sovereignty, you essentially, you don't have a country. As John Derbyshire said, this is a country, not a hotel. And that was why Trump was elected, to reestablish that idea that we're not a hotel, that the tens of thousands of Central Americans trying to invade are not going to get their way. And so I like the fact that Trump just brushed them back and really annoyed them. I can't express my happiness enough at the fact that Charles Schumer and Nancy Pelosi went away disgruntled. But it's a do or die moment, because we elected him for this purpose, and he needs to do something. He's done some good things in terms of refugee resettlement. I think that's been one of the greatest accomplishments. That and the fact that his election completely forestalled the chance of amnesty, and I think that should be one of his main policies during the next State of the Union. He should say there will not be amnesty, period, point blank. But bigger issue is the wall. I think that is a not only a symbolic but a tangible measurement of how successful the Trump presidency will be and whether or not it will be successful. Because without the wall, he, in spite of the accomplishments in terms of refugee resettlement and some greater interior enforcement, which completely disappeared under Obama, and rejecting DAPA. In spite of that, we need to make some progress, and the wall is a sign of that, because as Mickey Cows pointed out, the wall is a tangible sign, even if it does not deter immigration. It's a tangible sign that we have a national border, that our country does not belong to Mexico or El Salvador or Honduras or Panama or any other country in the world. This is the demarcation point between where our border ends or begins and your border ends. And without that, you're essentially delving into the camp of the saints territory, where you don't have, where the idea of national sovereignty is not only notional, it's heretical. You're not going to be able to say that the United States is a country after if we don't put down tangible stakes to our national sovereignty. We need to do this, and I think that was a good start. The meeting last night. Hopefully, he keeps this up, and he realizes that the Democrats, despite their entitlement mentality, they have no power here. The election is over. You can't, even supposing that this was an unpopular issue, which it's not. The idea of preventing our country from being invaded is not an unpopular issue, regardless of what you think the specifics of building a physical barrier, defensive barrier is. Protecting our country is not a losing issue. But even if you think that's a losing issue, they have no leverage in this case, because the election is over. They've already stolen as many seats as they can, and they have no they don't have a cudgel to beat President Trump over the head with if he stands his ground. Even this ridiculous Mueller investigation is not sufficient to accomplish that. So I don't know what sort of leverage they think they can exercise if President Trump says that he wants to shut down the government. In fact, it'll rally right wingers, even people who aren't supportive of a wall, to his side. So I don't in other words, they're solidifying President Trump's base. So I don't understand how they're trying to accomplish their goal. They're presumably by swaying popular opinion to force him in Congress. But as I said, the election's over, and the next one isn't for another 2 years. So I don't see what their strategy is. Hopefully, he'll stand firm and maintain that this is the issue. This is a do or die issue. This is what his presidency will be judged upon, and hopefully he'll stand firm, and we'll see a glum Nancy Pelosi and Chucky Schumer.